I'm back again, ready for pages 4 and 5. I'm a bit late in getting this online again because I have been making a lot of cheerleading items for my daughter because she runs a cheerleading team. It's in Chandler's Ford, which is near Winchester, and I'm very, very proud of her. Her cheerleading team is called Eclipse Elite, and you'll know this if you've seen any of the videos. I made a bow holder, cheerleading bow holder, which is online. I've zhuzhed it up since I filmed it, so it's a little bit different. But she also has a cheerleading team called Eclipse Inclusive, which is for disabled youngsters. So, absolutely amazing woman is my daughter. So if you have any interest, look for Eclipse Elite on Facebook. You can contact her through Facebook. Look for Eclipse Elite Cheerleaders. Anyway, on to pages 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. 4 I've almost completed. I wanted to see how I could put it together, what the easiest way would be. So I'll go through page 5. It's quite simple. I have got pieces cut out already because I wanted to... Oh, traffic's getting busy. I wanted... lost my train of thought now. I wanted to cut some decorative edges, so that's why that's all been done. So, first things first, you will need right. First things first, 2 bits of paper. Now you can put these on first before you layer this piece on. I just layered this piece on first, and I do have, I had to have my notebook here so I know all the sizes. Alright, so the first piece is and this is for each, I'm only going to do it for one page, so for each page you'll need these, so you make 2 of everything I say. So if I'm making 2 of these, but you'll need to make 4 to do both pages, but these are slightly different. So these are, okay, they are, you need one that's slightly shorter than the other. So for the longer one, you want to cut a piece that's 6 inches by 9 inches, and then score it on the 9-inch side at, oh, let me think, 8 1/4 inches and 8 3/8 of an inch. So basically what you're giving yourself is a tiny 1/8 of an inch gusset here and a flap. So you want to score it once again at 8 1/4 and 8 3/8 of an inch. On the second piece, do it exactly the same. I'll turn it around. So it's still 6 by 9 inches, and you want to score it at 8 1/8 and 8 1/4. So this is 1/8 of an inch shorter on the large flap here, and you've still got your 1-inch gusset. So you, along the 9-inch side, you score it in at 8 1/8 of an inch and 8 1/4 of an inch. And this one's going this side. On the previous page, on page 4, it goes, the shorter one goes this side. This is the only difference. Other than that, I think they're all going to be the same. All the other bits of paper exactly the same. So you want to score and burnish your edges. This is the shorter one. It's one that's scored shorter. Put my tape on the side. Going to mitre my edges. Like I said, if you're doing page 4, you attach this to the right hand side of the page. I'm doing page 5, so I'm attaching this to the left hand side of the page. There it is. There are other ways of putting this page together, but because I wanted to put decorative flaps in, this way worked out easier for me. So, tape backing off, glue on, and for page 5, I'm going to go right up against the edge on this side, make sure it's lined up at the top. There we go. Okay, so it's not going to come completely to the opposite edge. It's going to be slightly short. So now for the longer one, I've also got the tape already. Right at the edges. Tape backing off, glue on. And this one goes on the opposite side. That closes nicely, so there's a tiny gap there. What did I do with my bone folder this time? Oh my, oh my, oh my. There it is. Okay. So that's the first part. That was easy. Now I have to decide whether I'm going to have a magnet on here. If I do have magnets, because I don't want matching magnets on opposing pages, I'll put one slightly lower and one slightly higher. But we shall see. I don't know if I'm going to have magnets on this bit yet. Okay, so the next thing you will need is... Now this I've actually had to cut out of a larger piece of paper because I wanted to get the width in. You could cut it out of just an A4 sheet and stick it straight down, have a straight to page pocket, but I wanted the flaps there. So this one is 9 1/4 by 9 inches, and I've scored it at half an inch and 8 3/4 of an inch. So, and so it's 9 1/4 inches by 9 inches tall. Cut my decorative edge, and I've scored it along the 9 1/4 inch side at half an inch and 8 3/4 inches. So I've got a half inch flap each side with an 8 1/4 pocket for the middle. So let's get my tape onto here. Also, you can use whatever adhesive you prefer, glue, tape. I don't suggest a wing and a prayer. And I want a little bit of tape for the bottom because nobody wants everything to fall out of their bottom. Okay, let's move that to one side. Lighten the edges. And yes, I am brushing everything onto the floor right now because I am in a mess here. So I figured I'll clean up later. I've got the Hoover out ready. Right, so tape backing off. I was going to have this as a flip down pocket, but I changed my mind. Because I really didn't want to have all that hassle when I went through it, of having all that extra space you would need just to look through it. So I thought I'd do it this way instead. Okay, so my pocket opening is at the top, my decorative edge is at the top, obviously the pocket opening is at the top. And I'm going to place this right down the bottom. I'm getting distracted by outside again. Trouble is with this one, it's actually a slightly thicker card, so it is a bit harder to manipulate, but it should be okay. Just getting it all evened up. Okay, that's that one down. Now if you do cut your decorative edge, you don't need a whole lot of paper for this, because you don't have to come down very far. Once again, I've printed the papers out, except for, I do have a stripy one that I'm using, and I think this one is Now and Forever, Roman Columns by Imaginies, and that's this stripy paper. The only other one I'm using, which I haven't used before, is a red damask paper, which is this one here, and I actually created this one myself because I couldn't find damask paper in red, so I had to get a damask motif, and I'm not very good on the computer. I don't have any amazing programs. I have Microsoft Paint. That's it. Okay, so the next one, which is going on top of here, is, now I've made the flaps on the sides of this slightly bigger because I didn't want a huge amount of bulk. I wanted, you'll kind of feel it if you put it in. If you put lots of the same size and build it up, it gets really bulky. If you elongate slightly, it kind of spreads that bulk out slightly, so it's not so bad. Okay, and this piece is, oh, let me think. No, I'm going to have to measure this piece because I can't remember. And I haven't written it down. It is 9 3/4 by 6 3/4. Just under. Yeah, 9 3/4 by 6 3/4. And I've scored it in at 3/4 of an inch each side. So I've scored it in at 3/4 of an inch and 9 inches. And obviously folding the flaps again, so you've got once again an 8 1/4 inch pocket by 6 3/4 inches. So let's get the tape on here. Once again, don't forget to put a thin amount of tape or glue at the bottom, because you don't want your bottom open, because no one likes everything falling out of their bottom. Yeah, I had to say it. So, to my edges. Tape backing off. Oh, that traffic is getting busy. I'm not surprised. It's an absolutely beautiful Friday evening here. It's been nice and sunny down south and raining up north, and I know this because my youngest daughter Beth and her other half Matt are in Scotland at the moment, and it's been raining. So it's nice to know that they went and took the nice weather, left the nice weather at home. Okay, this one's going directly on top of the previous pocket. If you wanted to, you could have one pocket here and cut another, very carefully, cut another opening in. I wanted the double pocket. It does create a lot of bulk at the bottom of the page though, because we haven't finished yet. Okay, next thing we're going to do is I'm going to have a piece that is, I do believe this is once again 9 3/4, is 9 3/4 by 5 1/4. And once again, on the 9 3/4 inch side, you want to score it in 3/4 of an inch each side. So 3/4 of an inch on one, then go across and score it at 9 inches on the other side. So you have an 8 1/4 inch gap, space in the middle. And on one of the long sides, you want to score it in at 3/4 of an inch. So you're left with a 4 1/2 inch high rectangle here. So from where the score lines meet, you want to miter into that point. So miter and miter. And again, like that. Okay, now where you've got, oh, didn't miter the tops, where you have the piece of card facing you completely flat and you have the tape on these edges, I want you to turn it round, and above the long score line I want you to put a small piece of tape, and on the below the long score line I want a long piece of tape, so that when you fold in those side flaps, all the tape is facing you. Only when you fold in the side flaps. So, and this flap goes away from you. So, ignoring the long flap, tuck that away, release the tape backing from the sides, and the small bit of tape backing from the bottom of the pocket, because this will be the pocket. Glue on. And this, flap up the bottom and ignore that flap completely, flap it up out the way. I'm going to put this right to the very bottom of the page. I don't like that. Okay, I think what I'm going to do is, okay, quickie fix, I'm going to take about 1/8 of an inch off the top of this. And I'm going to do that very quickly now before I stick it down. So I want about 1/8 of an inch off of there. So hopefully you'll be able to do that before you go as far as I did. So I've taken 1/8 of an inch. So instead of being 4 1/2 inches, this rectangle, this is only going to be 4 3/8 of an inch high. So that what it is, I want a slight, and I do mean a slight gap between the bottom of this, what is a pocket, and when these flaps close, I want a small gap here. I just want a tiny gap here. So make sure that's on straight. That is, and down it goes. So now we're left with 2 4-page pockets, 2 flaps, and a small pocket here and a little flap here. Right, next I need that, and I need, uh-oh, I've lost my flap. Oh dear, 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 there it is. Right, the other thing I've done is, this was a piece of scrap, so I will give you the measurements. When I obviously laid my decorative papers on here and cut out my decorative edge, I saved the bits I cut out, because these I'm going to use to mat the bottom of this, just to make it easier to cover it in paper. So I didn't have to measure out paper or anything first, because this was just a piece of scrap paper. So just to make it slightly easier for myself. Okay, this bit is, it works out at 3 5/8 of an inch. That's from the very tip of the decorative edge up the top, and I've scored it at 1/2 inch in on the long side, and it is 8 1/4 inches wide. So, and I'm going to have a magnet on here. Now then, tape's on, and I have just mited my edges, tape backing off, glue on. Now you want to put this flap on that little pocket you just made. So this pocket here is what I want to, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay a piece of paper in there so I can see where my edge of my paper is, and on the outside of the flap, it's not going inside the flap, on the outside of the flap I'm just going to lay this. Now I could have cut this from the paper altogether, but I had scraps, I had leftover pieces, and I thought I'd like to use them up. So you could cut this all in one, but I am trying to be very frugal and use up every single little bit, which is why I have a big scrap box here. This has got, see, scrap box. It's got all my little bits and pieces in. Refocus, that's better. You have to excuse the state of my nails as well. I've just the dog's had a pedicure, I haven't had a manicure. Okay, next is this piece here, and this piece is, it's 8 1/2 inches by 8 1/4 inches. And on the 8 1/2 inch side, I have I have scored it at 4 1/4 inches. So one side will be, it's not 8 1/4 inches, it's slightly under. What I've done is I've done it so there is a very slight gap when it's folded, and that's going to tell me which is the outside and which is the inside. This is the inside. If you've got one that's slightly smaller, that's the inside. So this slightly thicker piece I'm going to add onto here. Okay, so I'm going to open that up. Already got my tape on ready, and my sides, my corners mitered. So apart from those two flaps at the top, these ones, everything else is exactly the same for pages 4 and 5. So this is my slightly longer one. It's longer by maybe a 1/16 of an inch. It's like a 1/16 of an inch difference between this flap and this flap. And I'm going to lay this on my larger flap along the bottom of there. As evenly and as straight as I can. Like that. Okay, so what this will end up doing is that will fold in, that will fold up, there'll be a magnet here to hold that closed. Okay. Now, the next thing to remember is these two flaps. This is what we're doing next. We're going to make both of these flaps. Now, this is optional, but I'm going to make both of these flaps into pockets. And you have to remember that the inner flap is slightly shorter than the outer flap. So just remember that when you're making the tops, the pocket tops. So here are my pocket tops. And all my little bits and pieces. You can see I haven't even released them yet from the paper. So let's get this tape off. I hate it when those little bits stick to the edges. Ay, ay, ay. Let's try again. No, it's going right the way through. Oh, I do hate it when that happens. That's better. A pair of scissors. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this that way. Okay, so the back one is going on top or underneath? That is the question. And I'll know because they will be different sizes. Okay, the black one's going underneath, the red one's going on top, so this one is the slightly longer one. So obviously you want to measure the width of your pocket and add a 1/2 inch each side for the flaps. I think I've got 3/4 of an inch. 3/4 of an inch. Yeah, 3/4 of an inch and 3/4 of an inch. So that's 1.5 inches. So that's 6 inches by 9 3/4 inches, scored at 3/4 of an inch and 9 inch. And that makes the pocket. Now this is for the longer one. So I'm going to get my tape on. Forgetting a little bit at the bottom so nothing falls out of our bottoms. I'm going to just keep saying it. Okay, once again this is for the top pocket. Oh, gotta mind those edges. I think what I'm going to do is get myself a piece of card, pop that underneath so I can see exactly what I'm doing, because remember you have that 1/8 of an inch gusset on the side and you don't want to go over that. So take the backing off, oh, I've done that bit, glue on. Okay, we want to place this to the bottom, out to the side. So I'm trying not to get my head in the way. Basically all we're doing is turning that flat into a pocket, and I said that this bit is completely optional. Okay, now for the inside one, and of course this one measures slightly differently. This one is here. Now I've measured it exactly the same, so it's still 9 3/4 inches by 6 inches. I've scored it in at 3/4 of an inch on one side, and instead of doing 9 inches on this side, I've brought it in 1/8 of an inch. So it's scored at 8 7/8 of an inch. So you have that 1/8 of an inch less for the inside pocket. So just a tiny bit difference, but it will have that open close. You can see there's a slight difference between the length of this one to this one on the flaps at the side. So once again, tape on. Not forgetting this bit here. Okay, some light of these edges. Take backing off. So I actually have written on my flap there, shorter. As you know me, I am absolutely terrible at remembering anything. So, glue on. Of course you don't have to use glue, this is just the way I like to do it. And I like to use the same glue. It's the glue I've used and it's the glue I like. And then this one goes directly on top. You can see what you're doing. Try again. Oh, this one here. And there we go. That is the basic construction of this page. Now, the idea is, if you remember back to when I redid the first page, the original version, I was using a tag to keep the pockets, to keep the pocket closed and everything down. What you can do is put a tag in here that comes up give it a nice decorative top, and that will keep this shut, so you don't need a magnet here. That is an option that I think I might use. I haven't quite decided yet, but you need a magnet here to keep this down if you want. Let's move all this over here for a second. And I'll show you what I mean. I haven't put the pockets onto this page yet. So this is the previous page. So it's the only thing that's opposite is I've put the longer, what will be a pocket, on the opposite side. So it's mirror imaged. That's the only thing that's different. Everything else is exactly the same. As you can see, you don't need a great deal of decorative paper to finish up these bits here. And I have a magnet just under the flap here, and I've used the leftover pieces that I cut from here and here to map the paper. So that's it. I will decorate fully both of them, and then I will come back and show you. Before I forget, there is one other thing I have done. I have finally replaced my front cover. I was looking very, very hard at the picture that I did have originally, and the figure going up the stairs holding the candle had a domed hat on, which means he was a policeman. So it definitely wasn't from the Scrooge Christmas Carol. So what I've done is I found something similar to this online, and it is just the preface and stave one, Marley's ghost, because I wanted that bit. Marley was dead to begin with. I wanted that there, and I needed that at the beginning. And I kind of like zhuzhed around with it a little bit, added my little red pencil and a little bit of white, a little bit of oh, what's it called, Winkostella, the gold, just around the candle, and that's it. Put that on. I printed it onto very thin paper once again, because it does have the magnets underneath, and the opposing magnets are under quite a bit here, so that should, and it does, hold very well. So that's the only other thing I've done. So I will, as you see, I have not yet put in pages 2 or 3. I will decorate pages 4 and 5, and then I'll come back and show you what they look like. And I may even put in pages 2 and 3. You never know. Is Buckley going to say, hi? Say, look at my beautiful paws. I've had them done. This is why he's not a happy pup right now, because he's had a pedicure. That's why he's got his t-shirt on, because he's had a nice bath and a haircut. We wanted to show you off, didn't we, Buckley? Because you're so cute. You're so cute. Yeah. Okay, I'm going now. Well, I haven't quite finished yet, but it's really, really late and I'm really, really tired. So I'll just take you through the decoration that I've done. I've only got a little bit more to do, and I've got to put the pictures in. So, like I said, they're both exactly the same, only this front pocket flap, one opens one way, one opens the other. That's the only difference. So, flap opens, of course they're both pockets. Oh, and I haven't matted that bit either. So they're both pockets, and I've put the same paper on both sides. Pocket, pocket, hidden pocket, flap, and fold down. And it's the fold down that I haven't actually decorated. So that's both of those. I have actually put in pages 2 and 3. So you've seen them all decorated. They're all done, and I've also put in the pictures. So this one here, and all the pictures are open-ended pockets. So it's like a large belly band. So there's that one there, and then this one here, which is the same, and there's a little same as on the first and second pages, just a little bit of a, this is the second page, same as on the first and the 10th pages, just a little motif here. It just says there's more of gravy than of grave about you, which is what I'm going to try and do throughout the book, is have just little the motifs with quotes from the book. And on this one, obviously it's at the bottom. Let's see if I can move this up without touching the computer. So, and this is open as well. And then on here, there's one here as well on the larger flap at the bottom, and the same here. And on here I just put, I wear the chain I forged in life, I made it link by link and yard by yard. So that is all I have done, and like I say, I have got to finish this, and I will finish it and put the pictures in, and hopefully get around to doing that in the next couple of days, so that I can get around to doing pages 6 and 7. 6 and 7. So I think that's all. But for now, that is pages 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Almost complete. So, all done. So for now, bye bye. And yes, see, I did my nails. Barkley had a pedicure, I needed a manicure. So they're done. Bye for now.